I suppose every man has a moment when he realizes the woman he loves doesn't see him the way he sees her. For me, that moment happened under the warm yellow lights of a Chattanooga hotel ballroom on the night I'd been waiting for all year. I had asked my girlfriend, Hannah, to be my plus one at my company's holiday party. Instead, she walked in with her male best friend at her side, smiling like she was doing me a favor. "Relax, Ryan, he's just here for fun," she said, waving her hand like it was nothing. But it wasn't nothing, not to me, and not on that night. My name is Ryan Ellsworth. I'm 32 years old, and I've spent most of my adult life trying to build something steady, something I could be proud of, a career, a future, a relationship worth introducing. This party was supposed to be the moment Hannah and I stepped forward as a team, the moment my coworkers finally met the woman I thought I might spend my life with. I'd imagined walking in together, hand in hand. I'd imagined her smiling at me the way women in long marriages do, soft, warm, like they know something everyone else doesn't. Instead, she arrived with Tyler, the male bestie, he's basically my brother friend. I'd never once seen act like a brother. He was already comfortable before he even took off his coat, laughing too loud, talking too close to her, greeting people as if he'd been invited. It took him less than 30 seconds to put his hand on the small of her back. I noticed. Everyone noticed. And Hannah didn't move away. She looked delighted. Meanwhile, I might as well have been part of the wallpaper. We walked toward our assigned table, but somehow he led the way, not me. He pulled out Hannah's chair, sat beside her, and I ended up on the opposite side of the table like an afterthought. They slipped into their own world immediately. Old college stories, inside jokes, glances I wasn't included in. The kind of glances that make a man feel foolish for ever believing he was the main character in someone else's life. I tried to find my footing. Tried to fold my napkin, straighten my tie, clear my throat. None of it mattered. Hannah and Tyler were already orbiting each other, leaving me outside the gravity field. Then the waiter came to take drink orders. Tyler ordered a top-shelf bourbon for the three of us and didn't bother to look at me. I gently set the menu down. "I'll pay for my own drink," I said quietly to the waiter. "Just mine." Tyler smirked. Hannah rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, Ryan, can you not be weird tonight?" Weird? For wanting my own date to be my date? The room felt smaller after that, the music louder, their laughter sharper, and yet I felt unusually calm, almost steady, like someone watching a slow leak in a boat and finally understanding why the floor had been wet for months. Then Tyler leaned over the table, offering me his hand. "No hard feelings, man. Let's have a good night." He said, that smirk still there. I looked at his hand for a second. I don't know what Hannah expected. Me to shake it like I was grateful? Instead, I took a slow breath, reached out, and shook it firmly. But my voice, that's where everything shifted. I heard myself speak before I fully understood the words. "Thanks for bringing her," I said softly. "You made my decision easy tonight." Tyler's smile faltered. Hannah's fork froze above her plate. And for the first time all evening, the entire table went silent. Because neither of them knew yet what decision I meant.
If there's one thing people don't expect from a quiet man, it's clarity. They think silence means uncertainty, or fear, or softness. They never imagine it might mean the opposite. After I shook Tyler's hand and told him he'd made my decision easy, something shifted. Not around me, in me. I sat back in my chair, feeling an odd stillness settle in my chest. It wasn't anger, and it wasn't pain. It was perspective. Like the fog that had hovered over my relationship with Hannah for months finally lifted, and I could see the road ahead without squinting. But Hannah didn't like that. Not even a little. "Ryan," she said through her teeth, still smiling for the table, "can we not start something?" "I'm not starting anything. I'm just acknowledging the way things are." She blinked fast, the way she does when she's trying to recover control. But control wasn't hers anymore, and maybe that's when the unraveling truly began. Tyler sensed the tension, and instead of backing off, he leaned into it. "Look, man, we're just here to have fun. Don't take everything so seriously." He said it like he wasn't sitting at another man's company event. He said it like I should be grateful he'd joined us. He said it like I was the extra wheel at my own table. I watched them laugh again. Him nudging her arm, her pretending not to notice before nudging back. It was small, but disrespect almost always starts small. And in that moment, the room around me, the lights, the voices, the polished silverware, everything sharpened into focus. I didn't feel invisible anymore. I felt observant. Instead of trying to participate in their conversation, I let myself listen, truly listen, to the tone, to the inside jokes, to how often she said, "Remember when," to him, but never to me, to how easily they dismissed my presence with a shared smile. I wasn't jealous. I wasn't competing. I was cataloging. And the more I cataloged, the calmer I became. A coworker I'd known for years, David, leaned toward me. "You good, Ryan?" he asked quietly, concern in his eyes. I gave him a small smile. "Better than I've been in a long time." He looked confused but nodded. Maybe he could see what Hannah couldn't, that something in me had gone still and strong, like a branch that finally stops bending. At some point, dessert menus appeared, and Tyler reached across the table to grab one, knocking over my water glass in the process. The water splashed across my lap. He didn't apologize. He laughed. Hannah joined in, and the waiter rushed forward with towels. I just dabbed my pants dry and said, "It's fine," which somehow made Hannah look even more unsettled. Calmness is a language she never learned to read. She tossed her hair and whispered, "You're being dramatic by not reacting." I almost laughed. The irony was so thick you could have cut her with a steak knife. But before I could say anything, I saw someone approaching from the corner of my eye. Someone who normally didn't mingle at company events unless there was a reason. My supervisor. Well-dressed, purposeful, looking directly at me. He stopped at our table and gave a polite nod. "Ryan, do you have a minute?" Hannah stiffened. Tyler straightened in his chair. I simply placed my napkin down. "Of course," I said. When I stood, I felt their eyes on my back. Not curious, but uneasy. Something in the air changed. Maybe A felt it too. As I followed my supervisor toward the quiet hallway near the bar, I realized Hannah wasn't the only one about to learn something tonight, because people don't pull you aside during a holiday party for small talk.
The hallway outside the ballroom was quiet in that warm, carpeted way hotel corridors always are, like sound gets swallowed before it can echo. My supervisor, Mr. Landry, stopped near a small alcove with a Christmas tree glowing in soft gold. He wasn't smiling, but there was something in his expression, something firm, intentional. "Ryan," he began, dropping his voice just enough to make it private, "I've been looking for the right moment to tell you this, and it seems tonight gave me the clarity I needed." I waited, hands folded, calm. He cleared his throat. "You've been steady, reliable, quietly excellent. The kind of employee most people overlook until suddenly they don't." Funny, I thought. That was becoming a theme tonight. He continued, "We've made our decision about the position in Charlotte." My heart stilled, not in surprise, but in recognition. I'd hoped, worked, pushed harder than I'd admit, but I never chased attention. I just did the job. Apparently, that had been loud enough. "We want you," he said simply. "The role is yours, if you want it." The lights on the tree blurred for a second, not from emotion,
At least, not the kind that makes a man weak. It was the weight of a door opening, wide and bright. Charlotte, a new salary, a leadership title, a direction, a life. "What's the timeline?" I asked. "Immediate. We'd want you there next week. I know it's sudden, but it's a chance most people don't get twice." I nodded slowly. "I understand." He studied me. "You're calm. Most people would be jumping up and down. I don't jump. I move." He smiled at that. "Then let me ask what matters most. Do you accept?" I did what I always do when I want to think clearly. Inhaled once through my nose, slow and measured. My mind flicked, just briefly, back to the ballroom. Back to Hannah laughing with Tyler like she forgot I existed. Back to the water spilling in my lap, the inside jokes, the dismissive tone, the look on her face when I said, "Thanks for bringing her. You made my decision easy." A man knows when a chapter is closing, and when another is being handed to him, wrapped neatly in opportunity. "Yes," I said. "I accept." He reached out, shook my hand, and squeezed my shoulder. "I'm proud of you, Ryan. You earned this." "I appreciate that, more than you know." As he walked away, I stayed where I was for a few seconds, absorbing it, letting it settle in my bones. I wasn't leaving because of Hannah or Tyler or anything that happened at that table. I was leaving because life had finally aligned the next step, and I was ready to take it. When I returned to the ballroom, something in me felt different, straighter, lighter. I wasn't walking back to the embarrassment I left behind. I was walking back as a man with a new direction and the knowledge that in a few days the entire shape of my life would shift. I approached the table. Hannah saw me first. Her eyes narrowed, studying my face like she was trying to detect cracks. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice tight. I pulled out my chair, sat down, reached for my water glass, everything slow, controlled, measured. "Nothing's wrong," I said. "Not anymore." But I knew the next words out of my mouth would change the temperature of that table, maybe the entire room, because I wasn't going to keep the news private. Not after the way she walked in with him. Not after they spent the night performing a duet I had no part in. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw the first flicker of unease. Good. Because I was done being the only one in this relationship who felt anything deeply. And in the next few moments, she'd understand exactly what decision I'd made.
I stood up slowly, not in anger, not for drama, but with the deliberate quiet of a man who finally stopped explaining himself. A few people nearby paused mid-conversation. Something in the air shifted when I pushed my chair back. Hannah straightened in her seat. Tyler lowered his fork like he expected a show. But I wasn't there to perform. I lifted my glass, just high enough to gather attention. "Hey everyone," I said, my voice steady. "Can I borrow the room for a moment?" Conversations tapered off, heads turned. Even the band playing soft jazz near the stage paused mid-measure. I could feel Hannah watching me with that tight smile she used whenever she assumed I was about to embarrass her. It was almost funny how little she understood me. I didn't do scenes, I didn't humiliate people, I didn't raise my voice. I just told the truth. "I want to thank everyone for coming tonight," I began, looking around the room. "It's been a good year. Challenging, busy, but good." Then I shifted my eyes to Tyler, who sat leaning back, arms spread like he owned my chair, my space, my night. "Tyler, thanks for joining us," I said pleasantly. He grinned. "Anytime, man." "And Hannah," I continued, turning to her, "thank you for bringing him, truly." Her lips parted, confused. "Ryan, what are you—" "You made my decision really easy tonight." A ripple went through the tables around us. Not loud, not messy, just awareness. I took a slow breath, looked out at my coworkers, and finished what I came to say. Tonight, I accepted the position of Regional Project Lead in Charlotte, North Carolina. The room erupted with applause.
Genuine, warm, proud. People raised their glasses. A couple of my colleagues stood and clapped harder than necessary. Someone from accounting let out a little cheer. But I watched only Hannah. Her face drained so fast it was like someone flipped a switch behind her eyes. She blinked, disoriented, as if trying to reconcile the man she dismissed all evening with the one being celebrated right in front of her. "You're moving?" she whispered. "In a week," I said calmly. A coworker slapped me on the back, laughing. "Finally! You earned it, man!" More congratulations followed. Someone called for another round on the company tab. A cluster of people gathered around me, shaking my hand, offering hugs, telling me I deserved it. But through it all, my attention stayed on one thing: the look between Hannah and Tyler. It happened fast, a flicker, but I caught it, because I'd spent all night reading them. Tyler leaned back just a millimeter, his bravado slipping. He looked at her with a question in his eyes, a silent, anxious one, and she didn't answer. She couldn't, because she didn't know what he was asking, and that told me everything I needed. When the crowd thinned enough for her to approach me, she grabbed my arm. Why didn't you tell me?" she demanded, voice trembling. "Because you were busy, and because I wanted to see clearly where I stood." "That's not fair." "It's honest." She swallowed hard, glancing over her shoulder at Tyler, who had gone unusually quiet. His earlier swagger shrank into something far more human: uncertainty. "Ryan, can we talk in private?" she asked, almost pleading now. "Sure, but I'm not going alone." Her brows knit. "Why would you bring someone?" "Because conversations in corners," I said, "tend to get rewritten later. I prefer witnesses." She stiffened, stunned by the calmness she couldn't shake loose from her. Because the truth was simple. She expected me to react emotionally. Instead, I reacted decisively. I set my empty glass down, nodded toward a quieter side hall, and walked, without waiting for her to follow. Behind me, I heard Tyler whisper her name, low and uneasy, and as she hurried after me, I realized whatever she wanted to say next wouldn't change what needed to happen.
We stepped into a quieter hallway, soft lighting, carpet muted, the kind of place where people whisper even when they don't have to. I stopped near a framed print of the Smoky Mountains, folded my hands behind my back, and waited. Hannah wasn't used to waiting. She was used to me rushing in to soothe, explain, fix. Tonight, she found a version of me she hadn't met before. "Ryan," she began, voice trembling, "you blindsided me." "I did?" I asked calmly. "Yes, with that." She gestured toward the ballroom. "That announcement, in front of everyone. You made me look—" I raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" She shut her mouth hard, realizing the trap. For a moment, we just stared at each other, her chest rising sharply as she tried to find her footing. "You should have told me," she said finally, softer. "We're a team." I almost laughed, not cruelly, just in disbelief at the revision she was trying on. "A team?" I repeated, because what I saw tonight looked a lot like you and Tyler running a two-person show while I covered the bill. She flinched. "It wasn't like that." "It was exactly like that," I said evenly. "You brought him to my company event. You made inside jokes with him all night. You let him talk over me. And you didn't even notice." "That's not fair," she snapped. "He's my best friend. I want him to feel included." "You included him in everything, including things he shouldn't have been part of." She crossed her arms, defiant now. "You're reading too much into this." "Am I?" Her jaw tightened. She didn't like being challenged without the emotional buffer of tears or guilt. She took a breath and shifted tactics. "I just didn't think it was a big deal. Tyler and I, we've known each other forever. He's like family." Family. Funny how many people use that word as a shield. You know what I noticed? Every time I tried to talk to you about anything, about us, about the move we've been hoping for, you shut me out. But for him, you lit up. "That's not Ryan. Come on." "Hannah," I said gently, "if I brought a woman to your work party, someone who laughed with me, touched my arm, made jokes only we understood, What would you call that? Silence. Long, brittle silence. Finally, she swallowed. I just wanted him to feel comfortable, and you didn't care if I felt uncomfortable. That landed. Hard. She blinked fast. Before either of us could say more, footsteps echoed behind us. A familiar voice cleared his throat. "Hey, Tyler," said, approaching with his hands half raised, like he wanted to look harmless. "Can I talk for a sec?" I didn't look away from Hannah as I answered. "Sure." He shifted awkwardly, stuffing his hands in his pockets. "Look, man, if I'd known you guys were, having a night, I wouldn't have come. I tilted my head. She told me it was her idea." His eyes widened. Too wide. "Oh, yeah, no, I mean, she just asked me to, keep her company." Hannah shot him a lethal glare. "Tyler, stop talking." But he didn't. Nervous men rarely do. "I didn't mean to step on anything," he added quickly. "She just said you two were having, tension, and she didn't want to be alone at the party." Hannah's cheeks went white. Not red, white. I felt my pulse slow, measured, predictable. "Interesting," I said quietly, turning back to her. "Tension. That's not what Ryan, he misunderstood." "He understood exactly what you fed him." Tyler lifted both hands. "I'm just gonna, go." He backed away fast, gone in seconds. Hannah stared at me, breathing unevenly, her carefully curated narrative unraveling in real time. "Ryan," she whispered, "you're twisting this. I didn't mean—" But she didn't finish, because at that exact moment, the door behind us opened and someone from my team peeked out. "Hey, sorry to interrupt," she said gently. "They want you back inside. People are asking for the new Charlotte guy." Hannah's face crumpled just slightly, not in heartbreak, in fear. Fear of losing control, fear of losing the version of me she thought would always bend. I nodded to the coworker. "I'll be right there." Then I looked at Hannah one last time. "This," I said calmly, "is the part where everything becomes very clear." I walked back toward the party, not angrily, not triumphantly, just with purpose. And behind me, for the first time all night, Hannah didn't follow.
Back inside the ballroom, the music had picked up again. Soft violin, low chatter, warm lights flickering against the glassware. People were still celebrating my promotion, clinking glasses, waving me over. But I didn't step into the center of it. I stayed near the edge, letting the noise blend into a calm hum behind me. Hannah approached a minute later, movements tight, purposeful, the way someone walks when they're trying to keep a mask from cracking. She stopped in front of me, hands clasped too neatly. "Ryan, can we go somewhere quieter?" she asked, voice low. I nodded once. "Lead the way." She guided us into a side lounge, empty except for a small fireplace and two armchairs positioned like they were waiting for difficult conversations. She sat. I stayed standing. That detail hit her immediately. I could see it in her eyes. She wasn't used to me choosing higher ground. "Ryan," she began carefully, "I feel like everything tonight spiraled out of control." "Agreed." She blinked, thrown off. "I didn't expect you to say that." "I'm not here to fight, Hannah." "I'm not either," she said quickly. "I just want us to understand each other." She clasped her hands so tightly her knuckles paled. "Bringing Tyler wasn't meant to hurt you," she said. "He was anxious about showing up alone in a new city. I wanted him to feel welcome, that's all." I let her speak. Let her build the story she wished were true. "And the jokes," she said, rushing now. "The inside stuff? We weren't trying to exclude you. It's just history. You know how that is." "I do," I replied. "That's why I watched instead of reacted." She faltered. "Watched what?" "How quickly you forgot I was there." Her mouth opened, then closed. "I didn't forget," she whispered, defensive. "Then
You ignored me intentionally. No, she winced at her own answer. Ryan, stop twisting everything. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't move. I just asked, do you want me to tell you what I saw tonight, or do you want to tell me what you wish I'd seen? That hit her like a cold wind. She inhaled shakily. I just want us to understand that Tyler means nothing. He means something to you. Maybe not physically, maybe not romantically, but emotionally? He fills a space you keep pushing me out of. She froze. Just a split second, but enough. Then came the detail, the slip, the truth without armor. I needed someone who made the night feel easy, she said quietly. You've been so stressed, focused on work, hard to read. So you brought someone who gives you more attention. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Her eyes welled, not with regret, but with frustration. I don't want to lose what we have, she murmured. We just need to reset. I can fix this. You can't fix what you won't name. Fine, she snapped. I didn't want to show up alone. Happy now? It wasn't honesty. It was desperation. Before I could respond, the lounge door opened. Tyler. He stood halfway in, twisting his key ring nervously. Hannah, they're giving out dessert. Figured you'd want to know. Her face went dead still. Tyler, not now. He shifted awkwardly. I just wanted to check. And Ryan? I met his eyes. I wasn't trying to disrespect you. She told me things were rocky. I thought I was helping. She whipped toward him. Tyler, stop talking! But he'd already said the part she needed hidden. Everything in me settled into place. Not anger, not jealousy, not pain. Just clarity. I thank you, I told him. He blinked. For what? For the truth. He left as quickly as he came, face burning. Hannah's hands were shaking now. Ryan, I didn't... He misunderstood. It doesn't matter, I said, finally sitting. What matters is this. You wanted comfort tonight. You wanted an audience. You wanted attention. And none of that had anything to do with me. She opened her mouth to argue, but nothing came. Because this time, the story she wanted to tell had too many holes. I stood again. I'm heading out. You can stay if you want. Ryan, her voice cracked. Please don't leave like this. This isn't me leaving, I said quietly. This is just the moment you finally see the distance you created. I walked toward the exit. Behind me, I heard her whisper my name again. Small, fragile, unfamiliar. And outside the ballroom doors, someone was waiting for something I never expected to hear.
When I stepped out of the ballroom, the hallway was cooler, quieter. Just soft music drifting from the speakers and the faint hum of the elevator down the corridor. I wasn't expecting to see anyone waiting for me. But there she was, Marisol. She stood with her elbows tucked in, holding two small gift bags, the kind the company handed out each holiday party. She smiled softly when she saw me, not the bright, enthusiastic smile she gave most people, but something gentler, measured. I figured you'd come out this way, she said. Yeah, I exhaled. Needed air. Looked intense in there. Her eyes flicked past me toward the ballroom doors. She followed you, didn't she? I gave a half nod. She did. Marisol stepped closer, lowering her voice. For what it's worth, a lot of us saw what happened tonight. She hesitated. And none of it was your fault. I didn't respond right away. I wasn't used to being defended, not by coworkers, not by anyone. But there was something steady in her expression, like she wasn't offering pity, just truth. Congrats again on the promotion,
Charlotte's lucky to have you." "Thanks," I said quietly. She handed me one of the small bags. "Your holiday gift. I figured it'd be easier to give it to you here than try to squeeze through the crowd." I took it. "Appreciate it." Before she left, she added, "You handled yourself with more dignity than most people I know. Don't let anyone rewrite that tonight." Then she walked away, heels clicking softly down the hall. I stood there in the dim light, gift bag in hand, letting her words settle. Not admiration, not affection, just recognition. Hannah never came out after me, not then. She stayed inside, probably trying to salvage her night with polite smiles and tight laughs. But everyone had seen her walk in with another man, and everyone watched her melt the minute I announced I was leaving Chattanooga. Sometimes humiliation doesn't happen in one moment. Sometimes it's a series of small realizations, all falling in the same direction. The next morning, the calls started. At 9:14 a.m. first, then 9:18, 9:23. 9 calls in a row, followed by texts, paragraphs at a time. "We need to talk. I didn't mean for last night to go that way. You didn't even give me a chance. I'm not the person you think I am. Please don't leave like this." I spent the day packing, folding shirts, sorting documents, taping boxes closed. Her voice filled the voicemail each time she tried again, sometimes angry, sometimes soft, sometimes crying. But none of it changed the truth I'd finally allowed myself to see. I wasn't losing her. I was exiting a place I never truly belonged. By evening, she tried a different tactic, sending pictures from earlier in our relationship, messages about good times, then guilt, then fear, then silence. The silence lasted until the next night, my last night in Chattanooga. At 10:47 p.m., there was a knock at my door. I knew who it was before I opened it. Hannah stood there wearing a sweater I'd bought her last Christmas, makeup smudged from crying, hands trembling, holding something pressed against her chest. Not flowers, not a letter, a wooden box. My box. Inside it were things I'd collected over years, photos from my college days, ticket stubs from concerts my brother and I went to, little mementos from trips I'd taken alone before Hannah. "Ryan," she whispered, "please let me come in." I stepped aside. She walked in, placed the box on the table, and turned toward me with eyes full of fear. Not fear of losing me, but fear of being alone when the music stopped. "I don't want things to end like this," she said. "We can fix it. I just need you to listen." Her voice was fragile. Her hands shook. She was trying. Finally. But not out of love, out of fear. I sat down across from her. "I'm listening," I said. And for the next 20 minutes, she told me everything she thought would save us: remorse, explanations, tears, childhood stories, the fear of being left behind. But as I watched her, I realized every word was shaped by one question: how do I keep Ryan from leaving? Not, how do I love Ryan better? When she finished, chest heaving, eyes swollen, she whispered, "Please say something." I did. But it wasn't what she hoped for. "I'm leaving tomorrow," I said gently. "And nothing you said tonight changes that." Her face broke open in disbelief. "Ryan, how can you walk away after everything we've been through?" "Because," I said, "I finally saw everything you never said." She covered her mouth, trembling. And then, quietly, without anger, without triumph, I walked her to the door. She stepped out, turned once, hoped for something that wasn't coming. But the goodbye she wanted wasn't the one she got.
The next morning, Chattanooga felt different. Maybe it was the cold, sharper than usual, or maybe it was just the last day kind of quiet, the kind that settles over you when you know you're closing a door you won't reopen. I loaded the last 2 boxes into the back of my car, checked the apartment one final time, and placed the keys on the counter. No ceremony, no second thoughts, no looking back. My phone buzzed twice while I locked the door behind me. Hannah again. I didn't read the messages, not out of anger, but because the conversation had already ended the night before. Everything that needed to be said was said, or revealed. And I'd made peace with it. Halfway down the stairs, I heard footsteps running. For a moment, I thought it might be her, one last dramatic attempt to catch me before I drove off. It wasn't. It was my neighbor, Mrs. Green, holding a paper bag. "Take snacks," she insisted, pressing it into my hands. "Long drives require blid cookies." I laughed, really laughed, for the first time in weeks. "Thank you." "Good men deserve soft landings," she said. "Go where you're valued." Wise woman. I hit the road before noon. The highway stretched ahead, clean, open, promising. Somewhere around the state line, the mountains softened, the sky widened, and my chest loosened with it. I wasn't running away. I was stepping into the life I'd been building quietly, steadily for years. A life that didn't need someone's approval to feel real. Hannah texted again around 1 p.m. "Did you leave already? Can we talk one more time? You wouldn't walk out if you really loved me." I let the phone buzz, then fall silent. And in that silence, a truth settled deeper than anger ever could. Sometimes peace isn't about what you gain. Sometimes it's about what you stop losing. By the time Charlotte's skyline appeared, glass towers catching the afternoon light, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Room. Room to breathe. Room to grow. Room to be someone whose worth doesn't depend on someone else's attention deficit. I parked in front of my temporary corporate apartment and unloaded a few boxes. Inside, everything smelled like new carpet and fresh paint, a blank page pretending to be a room. I liked it immediately. That evening, after unpacking the essentials, I walked to a small diner a block away. Neon sign flickering, place nearly empty except for a teenager wiping tables and an older couple sharing pie at the counter. I ordered coffee and a burger and let the hum of the city settle into my bones. Halfway through my meal, my phone vibrated. A notification. Not from Hannah, a single text from an unknown number. "Welcome to Charlotte. You're going to do well here." No name, no context, just that. I stared at it, confused for a moment, then shrugged and slid the phone into my pocket. Maybe it was someone from corporate, maybe a friend of a friend, maybe someone who'd heard the news already. Didn't matter. What mattered was the next morning, my first day in the new office. The building lobby was all polished marble and soft lighting, the kind of professional calm that makes you stand up a little straighter. I checked in, took the elevator to the 12th floor, and paused outside the glass doors. This was the beginning. My beginning. I pushed the door open. Voices drifted from the open layout inside, phones ringing, keyboards clicking. A woman at the reception desk looked up with a bright smile. "You must be the new lead. Welcome, Mr. Ellsworth." Before I could respond, another voice came from behind her. Warm, familiar, like someone who already knew I was coming. "Ryan?" I turned. Standing there, folder in hand, eyes steady, was a woman I'd never seen before, yet somehow her expression held recognition. "I've been expecting you," she said. And just like that, in the doorway of a new life, Charlotte finally began.